All right, we are live. Awesome. So, first of all, just wanted to say thank you so much for jumping on with me today, Martin. For those of you who don't know, Martin is the CEO of Revel CPA and creator of Minding Your Business, which is actually what we're going to be chatting about a little bit today. So, Minding Your Business is a course that you've described as a creative business boot camp and a mini MBA for creative business owners. I'd just love to hear you tell us a little bit more about it. Like, who is this course for? And yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited about this course because it's an evolution of a lot of what we've come to know are main challenges that creative entrepreneurs face, especially in the early stages of getting their business launched off the ground, up and running, able to support them in their lives personally, and even as they start to grow and scale and build out their team. And there's so many questions that you have to face, like so many hurdles and things to navigate, like deciding what kind of business structure should I be? And you hear and see all these different things, like what are my friends doing? What is that person on TikTok doing? What, like all these different inputs of like, what should I do about these different things? Should I pay myself or not? What should I keep track of in terms of deductions? Like what matters, what doesn't? I hear all this conflicting information, right? And it's really hard to sift through. It would be hard to sift through if you went to business school and got a whole business school degree, right? And we know that most creative entrepreneurs and professionals probably didn't. Probably, you came up and your path was focused on helping you learn how to do or make whatever it is that you create or provide in the marketplace, and probably had very little, if any, guidance or structure around like what it means to be in the business of doing whatever you make or do. Mm-hmm. So what is this course? This course is an evolution of a book that was previously written. It's the evolution of hundreds, thousands of conversations that I've had with creative entrepreneurs and professionals over the last 15 plus years. And it's a comprehensive 6-module course that's designed to walk you through all of the foundational basics you need to know, covering all those questions I just mentioned and more. There's a ton of content, right? So these 6 modules each have a lot of hours of content broken down into kind of bite-sized chunks. But beyond the content, it's worksheets and templates. It's things that you can actually just grab and use and put into practice. And ideally, it's also a community, right? We want to create community around the people who are going through the course, and so that you all can be there to support each other and share the things that are working well for you, and then we can learn from each other. And so there's a lot to be excited about.
Definitely. Yeah, especially hearing a little bit more about the community piece as well. I mean, it's so important, especially in the creative community, to have resources that are available specifically for them as well. So in your opinion, why is it so important for creative business owners to have guidance that is tailored to their unique business?
Yeah. Most creative businesses just don't follow traditional business models, right? And so a lot of the guidance that you can get out there as you're just getting started, it might be geared and appropriate for businesses in general that have, let's say, like really consistent cash flows month by month. But if you're a writer, let's say, and you get paid 2 semi-annual royalty checks, your month-to-month cash flow doesn't look anything like that, right? Or if you're somebody that operates in multiple states because you move and you're on the go and you have this contract here and then you have that contract there, you may have a lot of multi-state considerations to bear in mind. And in general, I found that over time, kind of borrowing advice or guidance from someone's parents or, you know, your uncle or your friend that does this other thing, right? That has led to all kinds of, like, you know, it's through no fault of their own, like nobody's got bad intentions here, but it's just insufficient and sometimes actually not helpful advice, right? Because it isn't created with the life and the business model and all those things in mind that apply to a lot of creative professionals. There are some things that are really unique about a lot of these professions. When you talk about music and writing and intellectual property, right? There's a lot of stuff that's very industry specific related to those things. But even just more broadly in general, right? Creative professionals tend to make their money by doing something that can involve expenses and business related spending, work related spending that for most people out there would not be deductible, right? And so if you ask the average CPA, like, can I write off, can I expense my, like, all the tickets to all the museum admissions that I've had over the last year, right? You just ask a CPA in general that question. Generally, they're just going to say no, right? That's not something that's allowed to be deductible. But if you are in any way connected to work where that admission to go to the museum is either research, because it's something that you write about, or you're incorporating influences from the work that you're picking up there, and that's now influencing the work that you create and get paid for. And absolutely, that's exactly, like, that's the definition of a business expense, and you should, right? But you could see that someone having or not having the context for what exactly you do, how you make money, the kinds of things that you would ordinarily spend money on, like, all that's really important context. And if you don't have that background and experience, you're probably going to wind up with some bad advice.
That makes sense. That's really great information to have. Creative business owners, we've said it before, are unique and their businesses are unique. So it makes sense that information and guidance is also unique, kind of fits in that same realm, if you will. We actually had a couple of questions that have popped in from viewers. I'd love to throw up here on the screen. The first is, I established a creative business this year, but I'm totally lost when it comes to what I need to do for taxes. I don't know what I don't know or which documents are important. Will minding your business help me?
Yeah, so the first time you go through anything like this, it's always a little unnerving. And just even having a sense of what to expect, what you need to keep track of, how to keep track of it, is going to play a huge role in, like, putting you at ease a little bit, making sure that you know what to look for and how to put it together in a way that's going to help you the best. So some of the things in this course that speak specifically to taxes are, number one, you'll want to know, depending on the type of legal structure you have, right? So depending on what kind of entity you are, let's assume that you are a independent contractor slash self-employed slash solopreneur slash Schedule C filer, right? All these things mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Assuming you are a sole proprietor filing on a Schedule C of your personal tax return, which you will do if you make money in ways that people are not withholding taxes from, right? So if you get 1099 forms, for example, at the end of the year, this is you. So assuming that's the case, you need to know, well, what do I need to keep track of? And so the course is going to answer questions about what to do with those forms as they come to you at the end of the year, those 1099s. It'll speak to whether the income that you may earn that doesn't get reflected on a tax form, is that still reportable by me? And sneak preview, the answer is yes. And it will also speak to what you can and can't write off, right? So we just talked about, like, what are the applicable deductions? How do I even learn to think about this? And once I know what I need to keep track of, what are some good ways to organize it so that it doesn't become this huge task that I'm like dreading dealing with? Right? We don't want that. We want you to do it little by little as you go, have a system and a place for this stuff to live so that you're confident that you've done a good job of keeping it up. And that when it comes time for taxes, you know, I've got everything together. And then last, and probably most importantly, we definitely spend a lot of time talking about tax planning, which is, you know, one way to think of it would be tax planning is what you do in order to know how much of the money you've earned so far needs to be saved to go toward taxes and potentially sent in to the government in advance to help offset your tax bill, right? So we talk, there's a whole section talking about tax planning. And again, depending on the kind of legal structure you have going on, what that looks like for you, but you'll get recommendations about how to estimate how much of that to set aside. Because that's a super common thing we see with clients, especially new folks coming to us for the first time, is nobody's ever talked to them about this. They really have no sense of how much to set aside. Sometimes they've set aside way too much money, which is okay. That's not a bad place to be, other than like it means they've been living on really low dollars, you know, every month.
Yeah.
Trying to set aside this huge nest egg that might be too much. But you know, even sadder are the folks who come and maybe didn't realize, like, oh, I actually have to account for not just 15% of federal income tax and 5% of state income tax. That's 20. But there could be another 15% of Social Security and Medicare taxes that get added to that. That's that self-employment tax. And now all of a sudden that 20% became 35, and oh, I did not see that coming. And so again, it's about being aware of this stuff, kind of coming at it heads up and knowing what is coming and knowing how to plan for it. So we try to give you as much information as possible for you to be able to manage those expectations.
Wonderful. That actually, I think, also answers the next question that we had popped in here. But I'll ask you anyways, just to see if you have anything you wanted to add on there. So they said, I'm starting from scratch and would love to have some professional advice so my business has a solid foundation to build on. How do I know if I'm taking the right steps?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the things we've touched on already, I think of as that foundation, right? It's knowing what to keep track of. So in other words, for deductions, right? What kinds of things are you going to save receipts for? How do you go about saving those receipts? How do you track this stuff so you know where you stand during the year? It's about that. And also, what other kinds of things are important for me to keep track of as a business owner? Do I have to save my contracts? Should I be saving bank statements? Should I be saving the articles of formation, that kind of stuff? So we talk about systems for keeping track of all that stuff. That's one part, right? So what to keep track of, how to keep track of it, what to plan for in terms of taxes, how to plan for it. But we also talk about some more kind of general business planning functions that aren't even exactly entirely within the realm of accounting necessarily, but they are money and financial things that we see clients bump into issues with regularly that we wanted to provide some support on. So for example, things like contracts, right? So we talk about what we've seen with our clients who are freelancers, independent contractors, sole proprietors, and what it looks like when you let the other person's contract drive the relationship versus how it can function if you come to the table with your own. And so we provide you a template that you can start with and kind of modify from there, so that you have something to protect your intellectual property and your ability to get paid. We talk about revenue streams and how, especially in today's economy, how not only important it is, but accessible it is to think about creating multiple revenue streams, right? So a lot of creative entrepreneurs often get in the business of trading dollars for hours of their time. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it boils down to, is they're selling parts of their week. And that equation means the more money you make, the more hours you're working, and it definitely caps out at whatever point you burn out, right? So that's the cap of your earning potential. And we want to try to help you think of other ways. So we create, there's dozens of ideas that we throw at you for different ways you can, parlay what you do into other, sometimes passive revenue streams, and help you strategize about expanding your revenue potential. But probably the biggest cornerstone to this foundation that the question is referring to is the legal structure. And that is an issue that, I can't think of a single client that comes to us where this isn't something we talk through with them, how to set up the appropriate legal structure that helps them both financially, so tax-wise, but also legally. And so it's great to get their legal guidance involved in the conversation as well, to make sure that that perspective is being aired out and heard. Is super important. But we're going to give you, from the financial side of things, at least, a really clear picture of what structure makes the most sense for you, depending on what you're trying to do.
Perfect. This actually ties in really nicely to the next question I have, which kind of centers around you and your experience as an entrepreneur. So you built your first accounting practice in 2008, which, like Revel CPA, was also focused on serving artists and creative professionals in a variety of fields. So knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently when you were first starting out?
That is an interesting question. I know I spent a lot more time back then making sure the coffee was perfect and making sure the office looked cool. And I probably could have invested a lot of that time in other aspects of the business. So I think a theme, like the most important theme that I probably would have tried to communicate to my then self would be to focus on not what is possible today, but what is sustainable for a long period of time, right? Because that would have ripple effects in a lot of different aspects of how someone runs their business. It would certainly impact the kinds of clients you take on, right? Because you may say, like, well, I normally don't want to do this kind of work for X dollars. It's too low, right? But it's that or nothing. Maybe I should just take it and then I can build from there. Mm-hmm. And while, of course, everybody has to make those decisions in real time, given your specific factors, there is a lot to be said for really determining what your value is to the market and then sticking with that and waiting until you have somebody that sees your value the same way you do and doing business with them, right? Versus trying to take on projects at a discounted rate because you just feel like you have to. So that's a part of it. It also has to do with like how you think about setting up systems and structure and process in your company. And I know for some creative folks, not all, but for some creatives, like that idea of systems and structure and process is like the opposite of what they love about what they get to do. and how
Yeah.
they get to make their money. But again, like we're talking about making decisions today that will help you be able to keep making your money this way for a long period of time versus like hustling, being all over the place, doing whatever comes up, giving your attention whatever the new thing is, reinventing the wheel every single time a new project comes around, which sometimes could probably feel fun and exciting, but after enough times, no doubt is going to start to feel unsustainable. And then you hit that burnout moment a lot faster than you probably would have or needed to. And what we're trying to help clients do is preserve that and to turn what they do, what they have passion for, into something that can support their life for a long period of time, right? Because at the end of the day, we all should be asking ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing right now? Like, why do this as a way to earn a living? Why, for the case of these business owners, like, why do I have this business? Why am I going out on my own? Why don't I just go do this for someone else or do something entirely different? And the answer should be, right, it should be that what you're doing with your business is helping your life be better in some meaningful way for you, right? You want your business to be working in service of your life rather than your life wrapped up and feels like it's working in service of the business, right? That's the wrong direction to be focused. So we talk about that a little bit too, and make sure that like one of the things we love talking about with clients is their goals, like what they want to see have happen with their business. And a lot of times there will be some financial targets and things like that that we talk about. But sometimes it's not all a financial goal. It might be like, hey, I want to do enough work and at the right rates for this period of time so that I can take a whole month off next year. Like I want to have 1 month where I'm not working. Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about what it means. Like what would have to happen in order for that to be possible, and just reverse engineer the things that way. So those goal setting conversations are so eye-opening because it can sneak up on you, especially if your business experiences any degree of success. Like if you start growing and things are going well in a way, very quickly the business can start to snowball and start to even consume you more than you expected. And that's why you have to keep your personal goals and boundaries and all that stuff in mind as you grow to do it in a sustainable way. I think that's what I would be telling myself way back then, is to think about the ways, don't be a superhero. Don't try to do everything right. Find the ways that you could do it sustainably because it's worth it in the long run.
Wonderful. That's great advice too. Yeah, definitely. So, well, I have one last question here for you. I know we're coming up to our 30 minutes together. So what are you most excited about entrepreneurs taking away from minding your business?
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to make sense to everyone else, but this is how I think about it, and you asked me the question. So I think that the most valuable thing people will get from doing this course is feeling like they're back in the driver's seat. I think it's very easy, when you have an idea for something that you want to do, a business you want to start, you're going to branch off on your own, start your own career, group up with these 2-3 other people, start a partnership doing something that you used to do somewhere else, right? Whatever it is. There's a lot of excitement around that moment. It's really energizing. You're taking a risk. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then you start learning, well, what does it take to actually do that, right? Because we think we know, but I guarantee you, every entrepreneur that's ever owned a business knows what it takes. And you could look at each other and we all know that we know what that takes. And if you've never done that on your own, there's really just no way to know. It's part of like, you won't know till you get there. And so you look around and you start to look for clues, and you read blogs and you post in forums and you ask friends and try to get all this input about how do I do this thing. And it can often leave somebody feeling like they're like ping-ponging back and forth between ideas. Like, is it this? Is it that? They said I should do this, but I don't really, that doesn't make sense because of what this person said. And now all of a sudden, instead of being, you know, captain of your own ship, like you thought you were when you set off to do this, you know, really cool venture on your own, now you feel like you have 100 voices telling you what to do, how you should think about something, right? And it's hard to know. So what I think folks will get by going through the content in this course is feeling like they're back sitting in the captain's chair again. And okay, I think I know now. I have some definitive guidance. I have some clarity. I've had some information confirmed. I've had other myths dispelled, right? I now know what I need to focus on, what's important, what's the right order of doing things, and how do I think about building this thing in a way that will support me for a long run versus like just kind of continuing to fly by the seat of my pants and reacting to every next thing that comes up. Like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, there's an annual report filing with the state. I didn't know that. Oh, I have these taxes due then. We're going to have you know all of the things that are coming down the road way far in advance so that you don't have those surprises. You can be heads up about what's happening and feel like you're in control. So leaving it up to you to then just go out there and smash it or not.
Make it happen.
That's going to be the part that you have to still do, but you won't at least be suffering for not knowing that you had some taxes coming that you didn't see coming. So we'll take care of that part of this.
Perfect. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the next step that would be great is we can go ahead and share. This is the direct link to sign up for the Minding Your Business course. You can either follow this link here or you can visit our website, which is revelcpa.com. I'll drop that here. And clicking on the Minding Your Business tab that's at the top of the homepage. And for anyone who's watching this later, I'll also drop it in the comments below so you can click straight through. And if you have any questions about anything we covered today or anything that's in the course, feel free, of course, to reach out to us at hello@revelcpa. Give us a shout there and our team will get back to you as soon as possible. But yeah, I just wanted to say quickly, thanks again to Martin for chatting through some of these questions, and look forward to our next chat.
Of course. Thanks for setting this up, Skylar, and look forward to seeing some of you in the course.
Perfect. Thank you so much. See ya.
Bye.